Hey everybody, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for another devotional. Today we are in Malachi chapter 1. I'm going to read verse 10. It reads, "Oh, that there were one among you, says God, who would shut the doors." He means the doors to the temple, "that you might not kindle fire on my altar in vain. I have no pleasure in you, says the Lord. I will not accept an offering from your hand." Ouch. It's a pretty strong indictment against them. And I think it's a sad day when believers don't realize that their worship is, well, empty and meaningless, isn't it? When we show up for worship and we go through the motions of worship, but the worship is worthless. And this is actually an oxymoronic statement because worship actually means to give worth to. So what's happening in this situation is that believers are giving worthless worth to God. And I think he's pretty hacked off about it. But before we get too quick to judge these people in this text, what if you and I were complicit in participating in worthless worship? What if? Here's how I see this playing out in our time. The people of a given church gradually take their focus off giving worth to God and exchange it for giving worth to their own needs. So participants or churchgoers verbalize these needs, which are just kind of focused surely on themselves. So around the church, you hear rumblings about maybe the style of worship or the type of teaching or the nuances in the programming. And as this persists, it begins to affect people and even the spiritual leaders. The leaders, unaware of this diversion, can get drawn in by it and grow concerned about all these people's concerns around them and then give in to them. Being the servants they are, they bow to their concerns to meet their needs, but over time discover that their efforts are no longer focused on the pleasure of God, but focused on the pleasures of the people. Then spiritual leaders become either exhausted by pursuing the pleasures of man, or they become narcissists driven by these pleasures. But there is one thing that they're not concerned about any longer. That's God's pleasure. And God's not pleased with this, which is what is happening here. He would rather have them shut the doors of the church than continue the vain escapade. But the problem is that no one realizes the problem in this situation. So this week, I want you to do something for me. I want you to assess yourself as you gather for worship at your church. I want you to be brave and ask yourself these two questions. Are you coming to get something for yourself, or are you coming to give something to God? And if all your thoughts and your criticisms and concerns are about getting something, then address this issue in your heart. Set them aside. Give them to God. And then give God your very best. Because guess what? The only reason to gather for worship is to ascribe worth to God. If not, then we should just shut the doors. Love you guys. I pray this blesses you. If it has, share it with someone else, and I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.